Where were you on November 30th, 2021? Welcome to the Audi 2021 MLS Cup Playoffs post-game show. Wow, that's how crazy it got tonight. The Revs, Supporters Shield holders, off 23 days of rest hosting NYCFC, who had never done it in the playoffs and almost didn't. Tati Castellanos with a huge goal. Tati Castellanos with a red card. Tajon Buchanan ties it, and then we go to PKs. NYCFC are marching on. I'm Andrew Wiebe with Michael Lahoud, Matt Doyle, Calen Carr. Let's try to wrap our minds around this one, guys. We have our conference finals. They are set. Philadelphia Union in their first conference final, hosting NYCFC in their first conference final in the East. On the other side, Portland Timbers hosting the story of this postseason, Real Salt Lake. And Calen, try to walk us through what you saw tonight, man. This was the classic so far of the 2021 postseason.
Oh, my God. What a game. I mean, we wondered how this layoff would affect New England. Well, New York City came out buzzing. This was an excellent play here. Rodriguez and Maxi Morales were able to find space, constantly switch the point of attack. And then Gray here. What a performance from the young man from the Bronx. Steps in. Great ball across. Rodriguez was active all night. They get on top, and credit to New England because they came back and responded quickly through through Buxa with a nice header. But for New England overall, it was not a good day for their big three. Carlos Hill was pushed wide, was not able to find space to be dangerous. Buxa gets the goal there, but otherwise I thought Cayens did a very good job matching up with him one-on-one. And then Gustavo Bo was a non-factor. He was just not involved in the game, couldn't get it going. Tajon Buchanan looked frustrated, trying to do too much at times, individual effort. And then, later on in the game comes back with a wonderful finish. And that's what a big player with that quality can do, and why Bruce Arena was right to leave them in the game. But look, they had this win. New York City was the better team. They had this one won, done and dusted almost. They were going to have to just sort of hang on at the end until Tati Castellanos makes that terrible error with the red card. And then from there, Tajon comes back, and then penalties, and Sean Johnson comes up with the big save. So it's a ton to go through in this one. But it was, as far as the quality of play on the pitch, the atmosphere, the big moments of the matches, definitely an incredible game.
Doyle, we'll get to the Revs side of this. It's another Supporters Shield winner, another record setter that doesn't get through to MLS Cup. That was their goal. But look, for NYCFC, this is what they've been waiting for 6 years.
This is, and it seemed like maybe the least likely scenario for them to advance that they've seen in that time. The going to the Revs, who won the Shield and set the points record, going without two of their best players, and Tinnerholm and Keaton Parks, having other guys on the field with clearly hobbled, whether it be cramps or slight soft tissue injuries. They gutted through all of that, and they were the better team. It went down the way we talked about it in the pregame show, and what we talked about the Crew doing to the Revs last year. If you play the 4-4-2, basically any version of a 4-4-2, you're not going to be able to control midfield, central midfield in particular, against a team that plays with three central midfielders. That's why over the past 15, 18 years or so, the 4-2-3-1 has become sort of the default formation. It gives you better control of central midfield. And that's what NYCFC did in this game. James Sands, Alfredo Morales, and of course Maxi Morales ran the show, and then they sort of supplemented that with Santiago Rodriguez coming inside as well, so that Matt Polster was essentially having to choose whether he was going to drop deep and protect the back line, step up and pressure the ball, or just track runners through the zone. There was no easy decision for him, and then there wasn't enough help from within the Rev structure. And so NYCFC used that to control basically the entire game. They were the better team. And then Tati gets that goal, and you think, okay, it's time. And then Tati gets that red card, and you think, oh, my God, they really are cursed. And, Tajon gets the equalizer, and it goes to penalties. And give credit to that man you're seeing on the screen. You just need one big save if you're a goalkeeper. Sean Johnson came up with it. Matt Turner did not. And that's why NYCFC, for the first time in their history, are off to the conference finals.
Emotionally, Mike, welcome, by the way, to this postseason round. Emotionally, where you at right now, man? We experienced this together, and it was just, it was shock and awe for much of this game.
This is one of the craziest games that I've personally gotten to be a part of and witness. This game had everything. One of the big talking points, we said it ad nauseum, Tati Castellanos, the hero and then the villain, or could have been the villain. We'll see how that plays out with their next game and the remainder of their playoff run. But a lot of respect to how NYCFC came out. They didn't play with fear. Yes, you respect your opponent. You respect the supporter shield winners in the New England Revolution, but they stuck with their game plan. And I think it was the battle of two tactical adjustments. I think Santiago Rodriguez, he was the best player on the field for me tonight. His ability to balance going out wide as a left winger and coming in as another second attacking midfielder, his movement and chemistry with Maxi Morales was brilliant. And I thought Bruce Arena got it horribly wrong with Tommy Return of the McNamara. He was nowhere to be found tonight. I forgot he was even in the game. He looked more like the guy with the dad bod than he did the guy who was supposed to do more. So sorry, Tommy, you got it wrong tonight.
Revs out, 73 points. Did not get on the right side of the margins in this one. You saw it there on the bracket. The conference finals are set in the East. The Union host NYCFC in the West. Portland host Real Salt Lake. One of those teams will lift MLS Cup in 2021. We'll talk about who might host here in a little bit, but first we'll go back out to Foxborough here. Elizabeth Hoda for an AT&T call to the field with Ronny Deila.
Ronny, New York City FC just won in dramatic fashion in the penalty shootout. You saw the joy with the team celebrating, knocking out the #1 seed, the New England Revolution. What's the vibe with the team right now?
It's amazing. It's unbelievable good performance. We are lately now so togetherness, so belief in what we're doing, and we stay disciplined through the whole game, and also we can deal with ups and downs during the games as well. So this is unbelievable honor to the whole team.
Goalkeeper Sean Johnston stay locked in the entire penalty shootout without conceding a single goal. What enables him to be so strong in those key moments for you?
I think we have been through a lot of things together, and that's last year we lost in penalties. Now we won. We learned from our experiences, and now we just want to keep on going.
Tati Castellanos, he scored a goal and then he got sent off shortly after. How will you adjust in the Eastern Conference Final?
I will see. I'm finished thinking about that. I'm not talking about that now. We enjoyed the victory, and we have players who can play up front, so I'm not worried about that.
Congratulations, Ronny.
Thank you.
Not talking about it, but it's got to be on his mind. Tati Castellanos, of course, the Golden Boot winner, the goal scorer that put him up 2-1, the red card receiver that will no longer be available for this conference final. Talking about MLS Cup hosting, there's an opportunity for NYCFC to host. RSL would have to win. If Portland win, they will host. If Philadelphia win and Portland lose, Philly will host. NYCFC have a path as well. They need to win and RSL need to win. Let's talk Tati, because this is a huge story both in this game and outside. Tati had an opportunity to win this game in the 89th minute, and the ball just comes off his foot and squirts away. He had 2 yellow cards. This is the first on Andrew Farrell, an interesting segment that NYCFC didn't like because they didn't get a yellow card for the play before on the Revs. I tweeted, you live by Tati, you die by Tati. That's been the case all year, Doyle. He's been a high-volume chance receiver, not always a scorer, but he wins the Golden Boot, and he basically did it all. This was like this was the hat trick. This was everything you could get from Tati in one game, basically.
It was. I mean, we were missing the Rabona assist. That would have been the true entire Tati experience. Yeah. But and Tati being Tati was very smart to eliminate himself before the finishing contest. But look, he's a wonderful player, and it's because of his engine and his movement. He is just such a menace in the final third because he's always searching for space, whether it's on the near post or the far post. But he'll split the center backs if he needs to. He comes back to the ball, and if you look back to the play that led to his go-ahead goal, he's the one winning the ball at midfield and keeping it alive. He just does a little bit of everything for this team, and look, it's terrible if you're an NYCFC fan to contemplate going into the conference final without this guy because, I think Eber's fantastic, but he's played 95 minutes all year. There's like zero chance he will show up and be the guy that he was in 2019. But it's terrible to go into this game without him, but you don't get to this game without him. And you just hope for him, because he's still a young player, you hope for him that he could learn from this moment and that this will be sort of the lowest moment for him in terms of mistakes like this. Because that second yellow card was like, it was a clear yellow. It was almost a straight red. You could have argued it was a straight red, and there was no need for it. They were 80 yards from goal, and the Revs hadn't been creating anything all night. Why go in right there? But that's Tati Castellanos, and you hope he can tame that and keep growing as a finisher in front of goal. And if he does that, well, I mean, either way, I don't think we're going to see this guy in MLS next year. I think there's going to be a big move for him this offseason. He's going to be a really good player in one of the 5 best leagues in the world come 2022.
Well, that's one to watch for sure. Tajon Buchanan, by the way, off the Club Bruges now. That's $7 million man. He had the game-tying goal at the very end that had us going crazy, Calen. I mean, on this Tati side, you hear Ronny Deila, and of course he doesn't want to talk about it. He hasn't had time to process, really. But you've been in this position of making a run in the postseason. How much are they thinking about that right now, at all, if at all? Is it just celebrations, or is there something in the back of NYCFC's, the staff, the players' minds that says, we don't have Tati for the next game?
No thoughts of that right now. Maybe in the back room when the coaches finally leave the track, and then maybe they can have an exhale and a glass of wine or a beer or whatever their drink of choice is, and be like, oh man. But there will be nothing of that other than that, because it almost slipped away from them at that point. Like, to be able to kind of suffer that, go up where you have that emotional lift where you take the lead and then you get the red card, and then next thing you know, Tajon scores, and all the momentum is swung in the other direction at that point. And then you've got Matt Turner, who is, the penalty kick guru in goal, and you're playing at home in front of this massive crowd. And for NYCFC, it looked at that moment like it had all sort of disintegrated and slipped away. And so then to come back around and show the resolve, and, credit to Sean Johnson there, who's, one of the coolest customers you'll find in net in this league. And his leadership, he's been on the wrong side of things in past shootouts, but not to his fault. I think he'd saved some in the past. It just didn't work out for NYCFC, and they took their shots well. But for Tati, it was a tough one for him, because you see he missed that big chance, and then he comes back and gets the goal where Jones, I think for the first time in the entire match, gets beaten. He was fantastic on the day, but Tati did so well on it. But then now you see it go the other way, and it, like Doyle said, it wasn't stopping a counterattack. It wasn't anything that was going the other direction. So that's the hard part for NYCFC. But for tonight, it's just going to be celebrations. I can promise you that.
Oh, no doubt. After you win in PKs too, after last year, after the Rodrigo Schlegel miracle that knocked them out of the playoffs to get this thing
you talk
done.
About a miracle. Maxi Morales made a penalty kick.
Hey, he's
Maxi had
he's
missed,
up to 50%.
He had missed like his last 6 or something like that. It's unbelievable.
He scored 6. He's missed 6. Doyle, he's at 50% conversion rate. Let's go hear from the man who made the save that made all the difference. Sean Johnson spoke with Elizabeth Lahoud earlier, an AT&T 5G call to the field.
Sean, New York City FC just won in dramatic fashion in that penalty shootout. What's your reaction getting the win?
Yeah, I mean, it means everything. I think, the way the game ended in regular time, it was easy to drop our heads, but I think we knew, the penalty shootout was another opportunity to go forward and win it, and we wanted to make it our moment.
You didn't concede a single goal in the penalty shootout. What enabled you to be so focused in that big moment? Yeah,
just coming up with a save, and the rest was up to the boys. Really just try to make one save in the penalty shootout and give us the opportunity to go forward and win it, and that's what we did, converting 5 of 5. Unbelievable.
You knocked out the number 1 seed in the league, the New England Revolution, here tonight. What does that mean to this group to be able to do that?
Oh, I think it means everything. For us, this was another hurdle in getting to where we wanted to be. The cup is something that means so much to us, and one game at a time. But now being in the Eastern Conference Final, it feels really good.
You punched your ticket, as you mentioned, to that Eastern Conference Final, playing at the Philadelphia Union on Sunday. What are you expecting for that match?
Oh, it's going to be a good match. We've got to rest and recover. Obviously, we'll enjoy it tonight, but I feel it's another good opponent. But, like I said, these are steps in the way of, what we're looking to do and achieve this year, and we've got to go forward and beat Philly and then give ourselves a chance to go forward and lift the cup.
Congrats again, Sean.
Thank you. Thanks.
What a treat this game was. It's our 4th out of 10 to go to extra time. I think it's our 3rd in penalties. Mike, I'm curious, are you putting your hand up in this moment? Are you saying, it's me, man, I'm taking a PK? Or are you one of the ones you saying, I don't know about that? Like, how did you see this PK shootout going? Because NYCFC were absolute nails.
I thought the pressure was more on New England. You're up a man. You have the more potent attackers. I'm disappointed I didn't see Gustavo Bo step up. You want your big-name players, especially designated players, take a penalty kick. I remember when I played for the Philadelphia Union, we were in the Open Cup final, and Jim Curtin said, who wants to take a PK? As a defensive midfielder, everything inside of me was saying, don't take a PK. But you're on the field for a reason, and I saw that our strikers were scared to take a PK in that moment. Not going to name names, but scared to take a PK in that moment. And it made me want to step up. As a veteran player, as a DP player, you got to want it. And for NYCFC, we saw in the Union game, you have to have good goalkeeping throughout the game and in penalty kicks. And Sean Johnson, shout out to one of the good guys in MLS, just really happy for him. You know, he's worked his butt off to get to this point, him and the club, and they deserve it. They should have won this game in regulation. I thought they were the better team, like Calen said, over the course of 90 minutes. That red card changed the dynamic of the game, and rightfully so, they won in penalty kicks.
You take these, Calen? How you feeling? Are you one of the ones shrinking back?
I put it this way. Mike and I played against each other in college, and I think to get to play against Wake Forest in the next round, I was like number 7 for my college team, so I was not getting anywhere close to the Pens.
Oh man,
we advanced, and I won't tell Mike. I won't rub it in on what happened that game.
Yeah, he doesn't need the Pens. He just does it in regular time against Wake. Oh, what a win for NYCFC! As we've said, they've had some issues in PKs before. It doesn't matter in this game. Whoever they play against Philly, they'll figure that out down the road. For the Rebs, though, Doyle, this is it. And we talked about on extra time, we've talked about all season long, Bruce Arena came to New England to win things. And the Shield is amazing. It's been a wonderful season. They set a record. You can never take that away from them. But given the history of this club, we all knew MLS Cup was the ultimate goal. And here it is over. I just want to read the quote from Bruce that he just put out in his press conference here. Quote, any sensible, reasonable person would say it was a successful year. If you think otherwise, you need to have your head examined. I don't disagree with Bruce, but it has to be acknowledged that there's going to be a hole in the trophy case here.
There is. It's a colossally disappointing night. This is up there with the Sounders or in Sporting Kansas City losing at home to a weakened RSL team. Because like NYCFC were missing 2 of their best players. The Revs had it all, had it at home, had a huge crowd behind them, and couldn't get it done. That takes away from how people will remember the year, but Bruce is absolutely correct. This is a massively successful year, not only in winning the first supporter shield in the club's history, but also developing a player like Tajon Buchanan who could be sold to a Champions League team for millions upon millions of dollars, getting other young players like DeJuan Jones and Brandon Bai and Henry Kessler to step up and find another level with this team, and then getting an MVP caliber season out of Carlos Hill. There's a lot of boxes that the Revs check this year, a lot that they should be happy about, but there's a lot they need to think over because this is the second straight year in the playoffs. They've been eliminated in a similar manner by a team playing the exact same style. At the highest levels, at the most important games, control of central midfield is so important. And I feel like the Revs have, for the second straight year, left themselves exposed right there. And last year it was the Crew, and this year now it's NYCFC, and it's just a different recipe from what we saw throughout the regular season with this team. And it's weird to say that Bruce Arena kind of needs to go back to the drawing board a little bit for the postseason, but Bruce Arena kind of needs to go back to the drawing board for a little bit in the postseason. The 4-4-2 is more of a specialist formation these days. It's for teams that basically only want to hit in transition. You don't see a lot of control out of that, and I think that came back to bite the Revs for the second straight year. So agree with Bruce. That is a massively successful season. You know how I feel about the Supporter Shield. I believe it's the most important trophy to win. It's the one that is the true indicator of who the best team is in any given year, but the job was left undone. And so now they got to come back in 2022. They'll still be contenders next year. They just got to find kind of a different blueprint for this time of season.
There are some question marks. We know Tajon's gone. Adam Buxa's had a lot of rumors around his future. Bruce Arena asked in his press conference, I just want to get your guys' reaction to this, just live right now. Asked about his future, he said, we'll see. That's interesting to me. That isn't Bruce saying, hey, we're coming back next year, as you're sort of talking about, Doyle, and saying, hey, the playoffs, we're going to be better. Hey, we're going to rebuild for MLS Cup. This is the goal. We'll see. What do you guys think about that? Is that just Bruce being Bruce in a post-game press conference after a loss in the playoffs?
I've seen speculation that, he from people in the know, I should say, who said that if the Revs won MLS Cup, he might have just walked away after that. I have trouble imagining Bruce walking away after this loss. That said, he's 70 years old. He's the oldest coach in MLS history. He's won MLS Cup 5 times. He's won. He won the old CONCACAF Champions Cup. He obviously had a legendary career with the U.S. men's national team. I mean, he doesn't have anything left to prove. So if we'll see means you'll see me just doing the front office job next year, that wouldn't shock me, and I wouldn't blame him one bit.
Long term, when we think about this team, Calen, how will we think about them? How much of this failure in the playoffs will be the narrative versus the brilliance in the regular season?
Well, I think the brilliance, let's just start with the brilliance in the regular season is undeniable. What they did was tremendous. I think for me, the people would argue around the schedule or whatever it was. To me, New England was by far the best team in MLS this season. Played great soccer throughout, and Bruce, really got the best out of his players. And you're seeing now a lot of them emerging to top levels and for their national teams, international football. And now they may have to sort of cope with that, with losing some players in the offseason. But I think the painful part for New England and for New England fans is I think the Supporter Shield and MLS Cup mean different things to different clubs. And to me, New England still is missing. The trophy that they've always been missing is the MLS Cup one. And they've been so close so many times. And it felt like with Bruce Arena coming in, this was the manager that was going to take them over the hump to finally vanquish the ghosts of the past. Now, I think this will go down as one of the best New England teams in history. I will say they had a chance to be one of the best MLS teams in history. Yeah. And now that chance is definitely gone. And I would say if you look at just the New England history, those teams in 06 and 07, I'd probably put a notch above. Although, I know those guys who are all rooting for this team that's not going to be any solace to them because they wanted to see for the club them take the next step. But overall, you have to say they got to hope that Bruce Arena comes back because he has been fantastic. It's a grind as a manager. I know that's tough, and especially for Bruce's experience, but they got to hope he comes back because he's been fantastic. There's a whole new direction, a new brand, new excitement. You saw the fans out there tonight. When New England is rocking, when that fan base is behind them and they're winning and playing well, it's one of the best clubs. And it hurts me to say that because I've played against them and had so many battles with Chicago and Houston. But they deserve a lot of respect for what they did this season. And that's what makes this NYCFC performance that much more impressive.
Absolutely a successful season for the Revs, just not as successful as ultimately they would have hoped. Look, a couple goals in this game, 4 to be exact. Back for another year of playoff soccer is the Audi Goals Drive Progress Program. For every goal scored in the Audi MLS Cup playoffs, $2,000 is contributed to the Audi Goals Drive Progress Fund, directly supporting MLS Youth Academies. We got 25 goals so far in these playoffs, 3 more games to add to that total. That means Audi has already donated $50,000. And throughout the playoffs, of course, you can also catch the Driving Force series on Instagram to stay up to date on all the big storylines. Head over to BR Football's IG story, Driving Force, to vote for your favorite club, learn more about Goals Drive Progress, and here's some Audi MLS Cup playoffs bracket challenge predictions. My prediction is that there aren't very many perfect brackets out there. As we take a look at this, I certainly know that mine is not in a good state. I don't think I have any of these teams. I think mine is completely dead, all the way kaput, as you can see in the East in the conference finals. NYCFC Philly going to Chester on Sunday, December 5th. And then on Saturday, Portland hosting RSL. Portland with an opportunity to host MLS Cup. No matter who hosts this year on December 11th, that will be a first-time host for the big game. That's pretty incredible stuff. Let's talk about this Eastern Conference final, Mike. Take me through your sort of first impressions. Union, your former club, hosting NYCFC. This result for the Union, they have got to be absolutely elated to have this game in their building, this opportunity, just like NYCFC, their first conference final. They got to feel like MLS Cup without Tati in the squad. Maybe he's within reach here.
And this is also a trap game for them. Yes, you feel good about your chances. Remember, in the last game they played against Nashville, they had a plethora of chances, but their forwards were misfiring. Sergio Santos, I think he was still at Fogo de Chao when the game started because he just looked labored in the box. Kasper Shabilko, he's been off the mark a bit. But when you have goals from midfield, when you have a goalkeeper like Andre Blake mending the box in the final third, you always have a chance. And Jim Curtin, he's just evolved as a coach. He keeps getting better and better. And the Union, to do what they have done, the Supporter Shield winners from last year, to lose the talents like Mark McKenzie and Brendan Aronson, and then take it one step further by going to the Eastern Conference Championship, that's a massive moment for the club. And for NYCFC, you're back to this place of being the underdog, which I think it's a place that suits them well. They're going to like their chances going into Chester. That's a difficult place to play. It's going to be, I think, an even better game because there's so much on the line. And there's a newness for both teams in this game.
3 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, ABC, ESPN Deportes. Ronny Deila doesn't want to say what he'll do. He doesn't want to think about it just yet, Doyle. What do you think he will do?
Yeah, I don't know. We've seen them use Maxi Morales as a false nine in the past. Obviously, Thiago Andrade has a ton of pace, so you could maybe use him as a sort of run through the lines number 9. Nobody's going to be able to replicate what Tati Castellanos does in terms of his movement, his just relentlessness all over the final third, whether it's in transition or especially, I think he's even better in possession than he is in transition. So that's it. It's a huge loss, man. He's the best player on the team. He's the Golden Boot winner, and he got himself out of the Eastern Conference Finals with one of the dumbest fouls I've ever seen. I still can't wrap my head around it. And it's going to be Ronny Deila's job to try to wrap his own head around it over the next 5 days. My guess is that it'll be Andrade, just because the speed can, maybe trouble the Union backline a little bit. We do see the Union, especially when they're playing that Christmas tree, come way upfield now and leave space in behind those center backs. And we know that Jack Elliott in particular likes to get on the ball and dribble into midfield. That can present maybe a chance to hit on the break, and obviously speed up top helps with that. But I feel like it's going to end up looking like a much different game than what we saw tonight, where it was NYCFC in control just for basically the entire time.
No touch.
Andrade's speed might just real quick open up a little bit of space underneath for Santiago Rodriguez and Maxi Morales a little bit. So that Eber is probably the closest like for like, but just doesn't have the legs yet, hasn't started a match yet. So I think Andrade, just even if he doesn't get on it, could just continue to open up that space that they use so well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think you can risk Eber in this game. 95 minutes, 7 sub appearances, most of them sort of at the end of games, 1 or 2 minutes just to get him back into the team. I would doubt that would happen, but we shall see on Sunday. 5 days to figure it out for Ronny Deila. Less days than that for Portland and RSL to get this thing going. Looks like Albert Rusnak's going to be back, Calen. They say he's returning to training this week. He's, of course, missed their previous 2 games, arguably their best player. It is a shame that Sebastian Blanco will not play in this game, and neither would Dylan Espria. His red card suspension was not overturned. 12-4. That's the cumulative score, RSL and Portland this year. Portland have laid it on RSL. How much do you think that matters, if at all?
Doyle, Wiebe, you're doing this on purpose. You're doing this to help RSL. This is only going to make them stronger. This is the perfect matchup for them, a team that they have historically been terrible against and just gotten ran off the park. That is the perfect matchup for them. And if you also just look at the matchups as well, both teams have changed formations, changed personnel. This is a very different Real Salt Lake team than we saw in the past, and you can tell even just by the confidence that they're playing with as well. And then you also look at who's getting healthier and who's losing players. And Real Salt Lake is actually getting stronger. They're potentially going to have Albert Rusnak back, which would be a big bonus for them. 11 goals, 11 assists, and really gives them that sort of connective tissue between Krylak and the rest of the middle of midfield. And then you don't have Sebastian Blanco. Looks like his injury is not going to be able to heal in time. Did not look good at the moment. And then Dyron Esprit out. So, home field advantage. Timbers, I think, will be the favorites, especially when you look at the history of these two teams this season. But I like this RSL team, and I'm done counting them out at this point. I'm just throwing my hands up. They've been amazing.
Timbers have an opportunity to win and host MLS Cup. That would be incredible. The conference semifinals are over. We're down to 4 teams, just 3 games remaining. 2 conference finals at the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. MLS Cup the Saturday after that on December 11th, the 2021 Audi MLS Cup playoffs. Well, they're about to pay off in the next week and a half or so. Folks, you can watch on Saturday on FS1, Fox Deportes, Portland, RSL. The next day on ABC, Philly host New York City FC. Give me your final. Where are we going? Where are we going, boys? We going to Portland? We going to Chester? What's going to happen here? Throw it out there.
I'll go first. It's going to Chester. I'm just going to start singing it.
Wow.
If I didn't say that, I wouldn't be allowed back over the Benjamin Franklin Bridge. My buddies in Philly wouldn't talk to me. You know who you are. I really do think it's going to be in Chester. I think the Philadelphia Union, both teams have good goalkeeping between them and NYCFC, but I just think Philadelphia, they're not missing any key pieces. I think the Tati Castellanos red card, as foolish as it was, it's going to be a big talking point. More so in that game, it's going to come back to bite them in the butt. And I think the Union will play the Cinderella story, the belle of the ball so far, Real Salt Lake. Sebastian Blanco, he has been the talisman for Portland, and that's too big of a loss. And, remember the Chappelle Show? Think of Portland. Who's one of the 3 best Portland wingers of all time? Dyron. Esprit, that is. He's not playing. So that's going to bite them in the butt as well. So I'm saying Duke.
All right, Mike comes out here and just drops it, man. Going to Chester, RSL winners. We shall see. The winner, or the weekend, will tell us. Thanks for hanging with us again tonight. It's been a wonderful playoff run so far. 3 games left. We will see you on Saturday, everybody. Enjoy your week.